almost. Ta-da! Right, all 6 removed, and I've got small holes to fill, and then hopefully it should just come on. Eek, that's it. Off like that. So these hinges are great for a small box, but for a large one where you want to do something quite involved, they just make everything really difficult. Okay, out to white again. So these may be useful for another project, because I can use my dad's nail gun to put these in, but I still need to put the slots in, so I'll keep them to one side. They might come in handy. So I've got the lid and the bottom separated. I'm going to give the wood a quick sanding to maybe 100, 120, something like that, just to smooth it off. It's not going to be visible in the end piece anyway, so it's not a big issue, but I do want it as neat to start with anyway. So if you've seen the 3-minute skill for this month, I made this bag. It's somewhere between a makeup bag and kind of a wash bag kind of thing to go in your suitcase. So I'm using the same quilting technique. Depends on what intro I've used on this video. I may have shown you the start of this, which was February time. So I've made one large piece, which is the lining for the bottom, and then 2 which will be lining for the top. Now what I've done is I've got one quite short and then one slightly longer. What I want to do is to create a couple of slots, couple of kind of filing slots or whatever you call them. So I've deliberately made these oversized anyway, so I know I've got enough room. I need to work out the lining size. So I'm using some more of this old tablecloth. It's old, but it's still good quality fabric. It's quite thick fabric, linen, so it's going to make a good lining for these. So first things first, I want to put a lining on the back of these quilt pieces, because you obviously don't want to have that side showing or catching onto anything. So that's the first job. I have still got all of these pieces of lining that were cut from the bibs. So, and they're all around about the same size as the patches. I could probably find a use for them, but that would mean making essentially patchwork lining, which is not stable for a lot of projects because it's too many small pieces that you then have to sew together somehow. So what I'm thinking is if I cut and stack 3 or 4 of these and then lay the leather over the top, it's going to create a raised pattern. So I think I can go for some patchwork across the top here in that style, just a raised pattern with some top stitching just around the edge. So that's the plan. This stuff is really soft, so it's going to cover really well. And I need to make sure I'm sanding down the corners. These are still quite sharp, and probably wrapping a little bit of lining around those to make sure they don't pop through over time. So I have got here, and I bought for another project which hopefully will be coming up later on. These are slightly larger hexagons. They're acrylic mirrors, so these are about 6 or 7 centimetres across. So I think that's going to look better, and that will basically take up the whole of a piece here. So the first thing I really need to do is work out how many I can fit on the box. Okay, so the case is pretty much finished. For some reason my camera cut out before I finished the handle and the clasp. You'll see on the recording that I've got that I started with this clasp and then realised that I couldn't use that because there's no way to lift up if I just kind of attach the top part here. And I tried something else that didn't look right and then came back to this one again. So I've added an extra little tongue for the clasp, and that's super glued and now I'm pinned in. So I ended up putting in a piece of ribbon to stop it from opening too far. I tried to use some leather thong, but it just wasn't strong enough to actually hold anything. It just flexed too much. So my original plan, I think you'll see in the video, that was to actually sew in the lining for the top. I tried that and it completely failed on me. Whether I didn't put enough stitches in or they weren't strong enough, but it just flexed when I pulled the press stud. So yeah, I've got to put a little bit more glue just on these edges just to reinforce these. But that's it, it's pretty much done. Where I put the hinges in, I actually cut a bit of the PVC away, so it's actually sitting recessed, so they sit much neater in the final thing. So there's my my patchwork and kind of the echo, using just some, this is top stitch thread. It's thicker than normal thread, and it looks like a thin kind of string, so it gives it a bit of body really. I've already gone over it with a little bit of watered down glue just to give it some kind of stability, but I'm going to do that with, I'm going to go over the whole thing with a little bit of wax as well to kind of colour it down, because I don't want it this bright. I want it to come down a little bit. So that's kind of the last job I've got here. My corners here I intended to stitch all along, so it wasn't a kind of a last minute thing, but I like this kind of look. It's somewhat reminds me of a corset, which is probably not a good thing, but I like that feeling, and it gives it a bit of texture as well. And again, this is going to need another layer of glue and then some wax, just to make sure these stay solid and stay where they're supposed to be, essentially, and not come off. So yeah, it's actually the box part didn't take as long as I expected it to, but I'm quite satisfied actually with the outcome. So considering the last couple of months my projects have been a bit naff, I think this is a much better outcome actually. So this should be on sale this summer, if it's not claimed by someone in the house beforehand. There's some interest in this before it's even finished. So yeah, I'm going to put a couple of feet or something on the bottom here, because I don't really want that resting directly on the ground. But other than that, it's pretty much done. So that is my patchwork PVC suitcase, and I'll see you again next week.